I have just played for you Remembrances, which is the very last piece of Grieg's lyric pieces. He wrote 10 books of lyric pieces, 66 altogether, and he ends the entire cycle with Remembrances. Remembrances is built, it's based on the very first one called Arietta, which was a love letter to his soon-to-be wife Nina. And he carried the love and sentiments of Arietta throughout his entire life, and at the age of 58 wrote a metamorphosis of Arietta in the form of Remembrances. To me, these two pieces are companion pieces, like bookends of his very beautiful, long and well-lived life. So, before I can show you Remembrances, I have to play for you a little bit of Arietta, so we can see how it is the same and how it is different. So this is, Arietta is in 2/4 time, Remembrances is in 3/4 time. Arietta has an opening 5-note melody, all with the same rhythm, and Remembrances has a completely skipping rhythm unpredictably. This is the beginning of Arietta, so you can hear what that sounds like. E flat major, they're both in the same key, E flat major. Arietta goes like this. 1, 2, 1, 2. Repetition. Very beautiful. And the second part goes like this in Arietta. Now with Remembrances, I won't go too much farther so we don't have to track a whole lot here. We start on the same G and the same E flat, and this is the rhythm of the soprano melody. Now he's marked this tempo di valse, like a waltz in 3/4 time, and he starts with an upbeat, not on the downbeat like Arietta. He starts with the 3 by itself with a fermata over it and tied for 2 more counts. So it's 3 counts on the first note, and 2 counts on the second, and 1 1/2 and a half, and 2 counts. And repeats. But it's the same melodic outline. But the biggest difference is the ground bass that he introduces at the very beginning of this piece. The opening phrase, which I just played, in Arietta is 4 measures long, and in Remembrances is 8 measures long. Everything is twice as long in Remembrances. And this is how he constructs these 8 measures. Each of these pitches I'm going to play for you is on the downbeat. You'll hear 8 altogether, and this is the ground bass that a lot of the piece is built on, starting on the tonic E flat. And I actually started, when I learned this piece, I committed that to memory. Now those notes are all played with the 5th finger, so let's start with that. I ask my students, if this was a sentence, what do you think is the most important word in this sentence? Where is this whole thing pointing to? I'm going to play it one more time and have you listen for that. Count as I'm playing, count the number of notes, and then tell me which beat it came on. Said 5, you were right. It's the midway point, the first 4 measures, and then the last 4 measures. He is taking these pitches, E flat down to B flat, which is the dominant, up to C, which is the 6th scale degree, down to F, which is the 2nd, and now the flatted 6th. Instead of this 6th, he takes a lowered 6th. You know who else did an 8 measure ground bass like that? Pachelbel with his canon. Many years before, but this I just love that line. Well, right now I am going to show you what I'm looking at. This is a brand new engraving. It's 3 pages long, and this is my working copy all marked up in colors for the lesson. You get these same colors and labels in a different form, which I'll show you in just a second. But this shows the first long 8 measures with the ground line bass. And then we go on to, then I call this part A, and then the new material that changes keys completely goes also 8 measures, and then the concluding part C is in this yellow box. Now in your chart package, your 3-page main file on the 11-inch by 17-inch horizontal axis comes like this. Lovely, clean, lots of space in between what I call these long systems. And the bar lines line up. It's very easy to read, restful on the eyes. You'll love working from that. Also in your chart package comes the entire piece in the black and white satellite view. This is really wonderful. But this one absolutely comes into explosive Technicolor. And those of you who have watched my videos before know what is coming. Yes, it is the color structural analysis. And this is the one I just adore. And it takes a long time to make one of these because I have to first re-engrave all of the notes on the new layout format for the main file. This is public domain music, so I can do that, and it's copywritten. You can get your chart package from my website as digital downloads at sallychristianmusic.com. So you'll get your 3-page main file, the black and white satellite view, and the color structural analysis. You are going to love working from this. And this shows the entire piece. And I am going to show you, since I have also recently recorded a brand new version 2 of the Arietta, I have a color structural analysis for that one now too. And it looks like this. And I'm showing you this because I made these 2 PDFs to complement each other and to read through. And on my part A's, I use the pink boxes. There's the blue box, part B, and the yellow box is part C, and then the piece repeats pretty much exactly. Part A, part B, part C, except the blue box, the second time in Arietta, is only 2 measures long instead of 4, and it has some other differences as well. But I used those same colors for Remembrances. And now I was so happy because I got 9 systems on this single page. That's a lot. I usually can only get 8 on a page, but I had to get this all on one page. And here on the first systems 1, 2, 3, and the last 3 systems 1, 2, 3, that's Arietta material. And I put brackets, Arietta here, and the whole middle of the sandwich is brand new material. Do you know that he's marked this grazie e leggero? What does that mean? It means graceful. It means light. You're on your feet like you are with a waltz. So looking now at this color structural analysis, and I really love working from this with this piece because there are no page turns whatsoever. And I will show you now that the ground bass comes 4 different times in the piece. 2 of them are identical, and 2 of them are in that middle section. So listen to this. Here's the first system, just like I played earlier. Now commit this to memory, sing it. And you can play the soprano and the bass line like this. This is that's your mantra. You've got to know that cold. Then we go to this part and this part, and I put them in a light pink instead of a dark pink. And do you know why? Because it's new material, but it's based on the ground bass. Listen to this. And then it keeps going. There's that beautiful Lord Sixth. And then that leads to the part D in the green box, which is some of the most extraordinary material. Remember, this is at the end of Grieg's life, when he's lived a full life, and he has so many unbelievably imaginative elements. I can't wait to get to that part of the piece. But I haven't showed you the middle parts. And those, let's go back to my marked up copy here. And I'm going to play, now we've looked at the soprano, we've looked at the bass. This is 4-part harmony, soprano, alto, tenor, and bass. So within these little thirds in here and these fourths and chords here, that's all complementary material from 2 voices, alto and tenor. Sometimes 2 altos, sometimes 2 tenors. And I'm going to play just that now. Listen to this. This is in the key of E flat major. And he's starting. Now that is a second inversion. That's root position. First inversion. Second inversion. And that's what he's choosing. This is the alto. He starts with thirds and goes to single notes. A natural, down a half step, A flat, and G. Now if I take soprano and alto together as redistribution, this is what I have. These are the steps to learning this piece. There are no shortcuts if you want to really take in how complex this is and have the joy of understanding how it's put together. This is a good way to do it. And I can do the same thing with the left-hand part. Putting the bass, the ground bass, and the accompanying chords of the tenor. Let's do the tenor first. Now in there is a hidden descending melody. Down a step to A natural, down a half step to A flat, and down a step to G. And if you take that with the alto, listen for this descending line. The A naturals, the A flats, and the Gs. That's very beautiful. Now we have to do all of that with just one hand for the bass and tenor. But if you're hearing ahead of time those patterns, those inner melodic lines, and you can bring those out, you'll play it more beautifully. And here is all together as written with the left hand alone. And here's the right hand with the soprano and the alto. And this is not easy to do. Together, Remembrances leggero. Going on. We have gone at this point. This is a suspension. This is one of the big differences between Remembrances and Arietta. Arietta goes to the E flat major, but Remembrances has a whole nother third of the piece to go. He's not going to give us the E flat major, he's going to give us the parallel E flat minor. On the suspension, just the A natural resolves to the B flat. We keep this G flat, and that's E flat minor. It's absolutely gorgeous at that point. But let's go a little further before we go on to all the new material of Remembrances. Let's take a look at measures 9 through 16, And look at the bass line. There's not a ground bass here. It's looping, just like Arietta looped. And the tenor has this beautiful companion. And it loops again. Isn't that beautiful? Let's put that together. Do you think this sounds like E flat major at this point? Not at all. It's a holding pattern. How many times is he going to loop it? And then he does this shocking augmented fourth. And a fifth. And then even more spooky, a minor sixth. That's remarkable. Now the soprano and the alto, this is pretty interesting. The alto in measure 9 through 16 does this. It's actually two voices. Do you notice how I'm stroking the keys? I'm not going, it doesn't sound good, but, and I go heavy light, yada, 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 yada. And if I put that with the soprano, I can also go a little staccato on these. In the alto part. That is so typical of Grieg with this Norwegian folk tune idea. You'll hear that in many of his compositions. So that sounded very much like E flat major still to me. But when you put them all together, we have a mixed tonality, we have a blend, we have polytonality. He's shifting the tonalities and developing the piece, and it's all leading to part C. So let's put this now together with the blue box, part B. Now these have to be sustained. With variation. And the middle parts can be detached and brushed. I like that. I like that a lot. But putting them together now turns it into a challenge to sustain the outer voices and control the middle ones very light. But listen how lovely this sounds. Part C, and I call these the arching closing phrases because the soprano now takes off and falls. And one more. Soprano. From E flat he falls to the F sharp. That's a diminished seventh. I'll start the next phrase on F and fall to E flat, which is a major sixth. Those elements are identical in both pieces. Together. On that F sharp. Do you hear the dissonance on this? And then it resolves to the E flat major. Next phrase, E flat. Another accent on that. And your suspension. And with one ascending E flat minor 6/4 chord. This amazing modulation from E flat minor to D major. That's remarkable. That's so ahead of the time. But remember, this was in 1901 when he wrote this piece. So a lot of things were happening at this time in music. Let's do this again. Now we go to page 2 and all brand new material. Modulation. Pianissimo. Here's the second 8 measures down, more of the ground line bass, new key now to B flat major. I love the skipping element, D, 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 D. Dee, 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 da, da. He's got that all the way through this piece. He doesn't have one of those in Arietta. So he's changed. He's an old man now. He's 58 years old. He's seen everything in his life. He's had enormous success. His piano concerto in A minor, when he premiered that, wrote it at age 25, and it was a huge hit. And he had enormous popularity while he lived. And he worked very hard. And he had a compromised body when he was only 17 years old. He almost died from pleurisy and tuberculosis. And that collapsed his left lung. It shattered his left lung, and from that point on he only had one lung, but he worked so hard. He was always writing and composing and performing and traveling, and finally it did take its toll, and he died from exhaustion. His body just couldn't take any more, but he did write this as the last summing up of his life. So I think about the elements in his life. I'll tell you one more thing. He and his wife Nina had one child, the daughter Alexandra, and unfortunately she died of meningitis when she was 13 months old. Right after his piano concerto premiered to adulation, he had this tragedy. Now, how do you deal with that? How do you ever get over something like that? Well, the answer is you don't. You don't get over it. But in this piece, he's going to, the wistful element of the good things in his life. The difficult times are coming up right now with part D. In the green box, and let me show you this. I call this explosive musical elements. A volatile bass progression. The bass progression moves unpredictably. We don't have anymore. We have this. It's just so wild. And then over that, we have a soprano that goes 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. And now watch these, 3 in a row. The alto here is going. That augmented, this is just incredibly tense. Actually, that's a diminished fifth. Minor third, major my God, that's a tritone. Diminished fifth. Now I'm going to take the soprano on the bass first, and then I'm going to take the inner part so you get to see how absolutely tense this is. This is like being stretched to the point where it's going to implode. Where did that come from in him? These are the experiences. You put it into your art and it transforms. The experience no longer brings you down, but it's the sand in the oyster that makes the pearls. We have to look at life that way. Soprano and bass. He's asking questions with each one. And then chromatic scale. What's coming? Of course, recapitulation. Lovely, just one of the most wonderful modulations. Here are the inner parts with this part D. Again, I'm brushing my chords. Ah, great. Let's put it all together. Before we do the last page, I want to point out something that I found remarkable in these first two systems of our page 2. And this is all in the light pink box because it's built on the ground bass that part A is. But the inner harmonies again are doing the most outstanding descending chromatic progression for the tenor and the alto. So I'm going to now play those parts, starting on this part. And I'm going to just play the inner parts. G sharp, G natural, F sharp, F natural, modulation to B flat major, E natural, E flat, down to D, and down to D flat. And that's where part D begins, except it's here. So this whole descending line is leading you. It's fabulous. So let me play that now and see if you can track that. It sounds so limpid and lovely. Technically on this, I worked a long time on this. This is so hard to play this with that kind of grace and lightness. I stand on my fifth finger. Some pieces I stand on my thumbs, and I actually play just like this with the tips. This one's a fifth finger, standing like ballet dancers on their tiptoes, on point. And I stroke the key. So I'm hanging on, pivoting on it. Oh, this is it. There's the stroking of the thumb with the tips. That's a great, that puts the two together. I just saw that right now. is 8 measures long. Arietta's is only 4. This one is, and that's a really nice point about this piece, how it is expanded, is Arietta with its single 2-measure blue box. He's taking these elements of that, but he's saving them for over here with these last 4. So this is all new. Let's see what he does, because this is really, the piece is wrapping up and there's some wonderful things that are happening here. Measure 57. Cantabile, singing. This beautiful B natural. A little variation here as a quadruple. Now he resolves both notes like Arietta does, only at the end. That's like Arietta too. And fermatas at the end. This is so remarkable, I think. So here, the very last measures is the coda of the piece. It's marked second to the last measure, 3 P's, triple piano, pianissimo, pianissimo, and a diminuendo from that, fermatas on the last. This is trailing off into the vapors. It's wistful, it's a dream, it's a vision, it's a remembrance. So now going back, I need to do a little bit more of the hands voice analysis here on the last blue box. The soprano melody and the bass together. Now this interval is a 13th. It's easier to think of it as a 6th. So what I do is to move, well, let's move this B flat down an octave and you can hear the 6th. All 6ths. But he does it up here. Isn't that gorgeous? Then the repetition goes to the surprise D flat, the flat at 7th. Arietta does that too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In your scale, this 7 becomes D flat, right here. And then way down to F. Coming together. And inner parts. I love this right here. He could keep going. E flat major, if you took the dominant B flat and build a 7 chord and make it a 9th. That's the kind of thing he used to do as a boy, a little boy. He'd be at the piano and he'd be building these thirds and going up the ladder and expanding. And you know what he said? He said, this is the most exaltation that I can imagine. He said, I am happiest in my entire life when I'm right here at the piano building these thirds and expanding these chords from a little boy. The famous violinist Ole Bull was an uncle of his, and he came to visit the household. And Grieg was just, not even a teenager yet. I mean, they knew each other for years, But Grieg played some of his pieces for Mr. Bull, and his breath was taken away, and he went to Grieg's parents and whispered something, and then he came back to Grieg and he says, "You are going to Leipzig." This is when Grieg was 15, "and you are going to become an artist." It just was amazing, and that one event was the turning point in Grieg's life. Isn't that wonderful? How somebody can come along and recognize the genius and recognize the talent. Grieg also had a beautiful benefit. His mother was a beautiful pianist and singer, and she taught him and gave him the freedom to play as much as he wanted. He didn't have to take over the family business like his older brother had to. So he got to be a musician. And this sense of authenticity, that's what I'm trying to say here. This is authentic from the time he was very small. So let's listen to these now with that in mind. These it's jazz, total jazz. Repetition. Are you ready? Where's he going? Do you hear how I'm sustaining the outer voices and light in the middle? Bring that out, that'd be natural. Now, the last closing arcing phrases. That's his heart expanding all these years later. The last one is a quadruple. That means something. Not in the Arietta, that quadruple. And this is retard al fine. As tender as possible. And then go into your Arietta. Learn them both. First one. And then play Remembrances. See, I could just do this just like Grieg all day long. In fact, I did. We're right in the middle of COVID-19 now, and this is 2020, mid-year. And we don't know how this is all going. When you watch this video 5 years from now, we'll know. But right now we don't know, and everybody is in a state of suspense and uncertainty. And it's very unsettling for every single person to not know how this is all going to end. And our lives are disrupted. They're turned upside down. People are out of work. Their jobs have ceased to exist. Businesses are closing left and right. We've never seen anything like it. not in my lifetime. This is, so this is really shaking us all up. And as a global community, out of this uncertainty is some message and some good that is trying to form itself. I really believe this. And we as individuals find some kernel of truth and light and beauty to hang on to, whatever that is. Strengthened friendships, families that are sheltering in place together. My husband and I take a walk every single day. It's the only time that we've seen anybody in the almost last 4 months. And we've gotten to know our neighbors really well, and that's been good. But I've been really lonely. I've missed my family so badly. It's been really, really hard to not hug people. We need to hug. We are group. We are herd people. We are collective community. We need each other. But we need art. We need beauty. We need creativity. And that's what I've been doing for 4 months, is playing Remembrances and Arietta. And I have to say, that's why I played Arietta at the end there, because it's a mantra for me of something so pure and so true. It never lets me down. I love it. And I can play it, as you can see, with my eyes closed. And I can go at night. The room is totally dark, and I can come down and play this piece. And it calms me, and it reassures me. And I'm thinking of Grieg a lot. And I'm thinking of people 100 years ago. I'm just doing an awful lot of thinking about the human condition. What are the really good things about the human condition? And art and the expression, the divine expression we all have. We are all creatures of divinity, and we tie that with our art. We put that into our art. And the blending of the two, there's nothing like it. So I just wanted to share that with you. When you practice, just think of this as an ultimate gift that you're giving yourself. And if you could play it for somebody else, you're giving a gift to them too. And each one of us filling ourselves with love from the inside and giving it back out. That's beautiful. So I hope you've enjoyed this lesson. I hope it's helped you, most importantly. And learn the two pieces, learn them both. And be close to Grieg and feel his entire lifespan embracing you with these two pieces. Thank you so much. I wish you all wonderful journeys with Arietta and Remembrances.